minutes away. Hours of fun. See another world. Stearnsburg, your local, affordable source for family fun.
Shouldn't that go into recycling?
Recycling? Recycling! Everybody knows the trash gets sorted. We don't need no stinking recycling.
Fact is, no trash gets sorted, friend. So if it goes in there, it just ends up at a landfill.
There's only one way to settle this. Draw.
Santa Barbara recycles.
Another day in your day-to-day replays. Moments you might cherish pass you by. But the light of the morning seems to say that one small thing can change the world. The morning light remains. The smile that you offer is returned. The good fortune of the day can be blamed on the fact that one small thing can change the world.
I'm Dominique Blocker with City TV. Welcome to Inside Santa Barbara, the city's only news magazine show. We bring you up to date on the city's most significant issues, projects, and events. Unfortunately, in this economy, there is need all around us. But there are people who have decided that even in difficult times, they still want to give back. We are going to introduce you to city employees who take their jobs in public service to the next level. And maybe one of them will inspire you to do the same. We're glad to bring you our city giving back. In times when people are focused on holding on to what they have, it's difficult to imagine finding people focused on just the opposite, giving. At the City of Santa Barbara, employees are already serving the community. They keep the water we drink flowing, run after school programs for kids, keep the streets drivable and the residents safe. But for many employees, giving is more than just their day job. For them, giving back to the community is a way of life.
The people I'm associated with here with the City of Santa Barbara, they all enjoy their job, and it's not just a job, it's their career and it's their community. And a lot of our employees either live in the city or close by. And it's not just getting a paycheck, it's making a difference for our community.
I do think that the attraction of working in a public agency for a lot of folks is the fact that you're doing something that is directly connected to supporting the community. So we've got kind of a population of folks that work for the city that have a natural tendency to feel connected and to want to be part of supporting the positive reasons that we all want to live here and be part of the good things about Santa Barbara.
One critical way city employees give back is through the annual charitable giving campaign.
United Way is a partner with the city in helping to coordinate how individual employees can use the payroll deduction system to be able to contribute during the course of the year, or if they want to do a one-time contribution. It's incredible how many different programs are available in Santa Barbara, and being able to have an opportunity as an employee that's employed by the city of Santa Barbara to give back is really what the campaign's all about.
This year, over 200 employees decided to do just that, give back to their community by donating money through the campaign. Yet, to many city employees, giving back means more than donating money.
The charitable giving campaign is not the only way that employees are involved in the community. So it's definitely one vehicle, but I think it's also important to recognize that there are a variety of other volunteer activities that go on that involve our employees throughout the course of the year.
A variety that became apparent as I began looking for ways employees give back. I was overwhelmed and inspired by the amount of time, generosity, and love that city staff spread throughout our community.
Okay.
For Principal Transportation Planner Rob Dayton, the 1 hour each week he spent volunteering as a mentor for the Fighting Back Mentor Program was a small investment of his time with a huge payoff.
Here's a kid who lives in our community who has a much better standing and chance to make it and to do well and to have the kind of values that our community wants to have in kids.
And his time didn't go to waste. Research has shown by simply having someone like Rob there to listen, support, and encourage them, youth in our community are more likely to succeed academically as well as personally.
Alex was 9 when we started, and he was at Adams Elementary School. We started the relationship, and I would just visit him at school once a week for about an hour. And just to invest in his life and have great conversations. Alex is now 22, and he's got a job down at Oxnard, and he's doing great. And it's just really impressive to see a great boy turn into a great man. I think I've told many times Alex that it was much more rewarding for me to have the privilege to be with him and to spend time with him than it was for him. And it really did feel like it wasn't me just giving, but I was receiving as we'd watch him grow and succeed in what he was doing. It wasn't always easy, and there were a lot of hard times. He went through a lot of difficult challenges. But I think that because I was there and was a little bit more constant in his life, he had a better chance.
And it's not only youth that have a better chance because of city employees who give back to the community. By volunteering with the Santa Barbara Wildlife Care Network, Administrative Specialist Danielle Clayton gives injured wildlife a chance as well.
Last year when I heard that we were losing, we lost about 500 due to a freaks climate issue with them. They had over 25 pelicans here at the pool. The Wildlife Care Network needed help. They were looking for money or volunteers, so I just walked in one day and said I'd love to volunteer. So I've been here ever since.
Nearly every Saturday morning, you can find Danielle cleaning the seabird pool and giving water and food to the injured or sick pelicans, seagulls, ducks, and other local birds.
Have to give them clean water twice a day. We feed them twice a day. The pool gets cleaned twice a day. The pelicans get fed at least twice, sometimes 3. All done through volunteers that come in every shift. We have a morning shift and an afternoon shift. It's all people who just volunteer. The goal here is to make sure that they're safe and that they're happy and that they do okay.
Although volunteering and helping others has always been a central part of Danielle's life, her efforts to help the pelicans has a personal meaning.
A couple of years ago, I moved back to Santa Barbara. I'm from the area, born and raised actually. And during that time, I was going through probably 3 of the top 5 stressors in most humans' lives, which is I was getting a divorce, I was changing careers, and I moved after not living here for about 9 years. And so it was emotionally challenging for me, as well as just extremely stressful. So at that point in time, the only thing that kind of kept me calm and kind of kept me going was going down to the harbor and watching the pelicans fly each day. And I'd go upwards of 2 to 3 times a day sometimes, just because it gave me a sense of calmness and an ability to kind of sit there and think about really what I wanted to do and where I wanted to take my life. For this specific organization, I volunteer because of the pelicans, because I feel like I need to give them back what they gave me.
Ultimately, through volunteering, Danielle's efforts have helped return many pelicans to the wild, allowing them to bring peace and calmness to other waterfront visitors. Giving away an animal you have loved and cared for doesn't sound like a pleasant thing to do, but it is something that Browning Allen, the city's transportation manager, will soon experience. This past fall, he, along with his daughter Natalie, became certified guide dog puppy raisers through a local chapter of Guide Dogs of America.
You have the dog for roughly 18 months, a year and a half. So during that time period, you get socializing the dog. So at 18 months, you take the dog back to Guide Dogs of America and say goodbye, and it goes into its formal training to become a seeing eye dog.
Sharing this experience with his daughter was an important part of his decision to take on such a large commitment.
Well, I think volunteerism is very important. You know, obviously in high school, to graduate, you have to have X amount of hours of community service. But this goes way beyond getting the minimum requirement to graduate from high school and getting a foundation as they move on to their adulthood. Because you got to get back to the community you work in. And when the dog graduates, we get to meet the person that she's placed with. And that's kind of cool too, and really fulfilling too. You're doing good.
And as is the case for other volunteers, the organizations they support aren't the only ones benefiting from the giving.
I think it's really rewarding, for me personally. So I'm doing something that's going to eventually help somebody who is blind, whether they be totally blind or partially blind. So this dog is going to be placed with somebody who has a need. The dog is going to be that person's sight. And then my job here with the city, I'm the transportation manager. I have street maintenance as part of my work group. And we fix sidewalks. My group works with engineering to design and install curb cuts, access ramps. Things that, I touch, my staff touches from a physical infrastructure is people who have some type of impairment, whether they be visually impaired or restricted to wheelchair. This is kind of on the other end, the user end. I'm seeing the things I do at my work, I'm seeing from the other side with somebody who has some type of impairment, and seeing the benefit of the things that we do here. So kind of connecting the dots, if you will.
There is undoubtedly a connection between people and animals. Walking dogs like Ruby at the Dog Adoption and Welfare Group, better known as DOG, gives me a chance to spend time outdoors and connect with the animals while they wait to find their forever home. Nice job. For Celeste Carlisle, Outreach Coordinator for the city's Environmental Services Division, being able to volunteer with horses was a great way to put her experience with the animals to good use and help an extraordinary group of people within her community.
My background and actually my first love is horses, and my other job is working with horses. And I did therapeutic riding at a variety of places before I moved to Santa Barbara. So I had heard about Hearts actually, and I had kept thinking, gosh, I really should get in touch with them and volunteer. Hearts has all these ongoing therapeutic riding programs for children and adults with mental and physical handicaps. And then they heard about a veterans program at another therapeutic riding center in Virginia, and they thought that would be great to have here locally. Any program that pairs horses and people is generally pretty darn good.
Her role on the Veterans Committee allows Celeste to use her passion for horses, love for volunteering, and outreach skills to get the word out about this enriching program.
Veterans are doing very important work, and they come back, and then what? You come back to post-traumatic stress syndrome and maybe a physical injury, and so here we have things like this, and it's a little bit to give back.
For veteran participants, having a place at Hearts allows for more than just riding lessons.
Having the horses to groom and to pick their feet and, you know, scoop up in the stalls and stuff, that's all work, and that gets the physical part out. You know, and the doctors, you'll always hear doctors say, you know, well, if you get mad, go for a walk. You know, you get mad, you can come out here and brush a horse, and trust me, you can get a lot of energy out brushing a horse and picking up feet and, you know, scooping manure. A lot of energy.
I found out about the program through UCSB's website because I'm a student there, and that was about 2 months ago, and I've been coming in every Saturday since. I really enjoy working with the horses. It's very, very therapeutic, just even grooming them and getting to ride them. Just a really great relationship to have with the animal.
According to participants, the Hearts program is equal parts therapy and sanctuary, a powerful combination for healing.
You can talk to a horse for hours. And it's like talking to a person. I mean, they stand there, they got big old brown eyes, and they look at you, and, you know, and you can talk to them, and it's like talking to a person, Max. And it's that feeling, and you know that no matter what you say, it'll never go any further. He's not going to tell any secrets that I tell him, guaranteed. So it's a real nice place to get rid of some stuff. I think it's absolutely essential to have the equine program.
And the crucial ingredient in all of these essential programs is volunteers. Volunteers and the causes that use them tout the flexibility of commitment, the ability to give as much as you want in money, time, or other means. One thing I've learned about giving back is you can make a big difference in a short amount of time. By stopping by the blood center on my lunch hour just once every 8 weeks, I can impact the lives of 18 people every year. Whether it's tending to injured wildlife or raising a puppy who will become the eyes for the visually impaired, being a stable figure in a local youth's life, or supporting programs that help veterans heal the wounds of war, city employee volunteers are making Santa Barbara a better place. Their example shows all of us that volunteerism is about more than commitment, but rather about caring and community.
I truly look at volunteering as a way of me giving back, and I choose to live my life in a way that would help others. I think that that's why I'm here, is to be a difference, make a difference, whether it's in someone or something's life. So whether it's one moment in time and I just do one random act of kindness for someone, or whether I choose to do it on an ongoing basis, that's why I volunteer.
We have a lot of nonprofit organizations here in the city and throughout the South Coast that they rely on volunteers to get their message out or get the work done, whether it be Casa Esperanza or the Guide Dogs of America or United Way offices. So they really rely on that. And if people can't actually go out and volunteer, then they're also looking for people to make contributions towards the organizations.
I think it's really super easy to read the papers and see all the things that are wrong with the city and with the situation, with gangs, with violence, with all the things that we point at. But actually doing something with this little amount of time, this little investment, will change things. And the more people who take responsibility instead of criticizing and actually get involved, we'll see transformation in the community.
For more information about how you can get involved with these organizations, visit citytv18.com and find out how you can give back to the community. We'll be right back. 10,000 years ago, early cave dwellers relied on natural fiber shoulder pouches to gather their food. Native Americans used baskets made of rushes or reeds to collect and carry acorns, berries, or fish. In the mid-19th century, gold miners loaded their saddlebags with precious metals and packed it onto their donkeys. Even 1930s American movie icons skipped down the yellow brick road with full baskets for the journey. In the 70s, we were all grooving to the latest funkadelic sounds with our out-of-sight bags. History has shown us that reusable is a better way to go. The decisions we make each day affect the world around us. Where's your bag? Rediscover your sense of Santa Barbara. Stearns Wharf, you're on to something.
Shouldn't that go into recycling?
Recycling. Recycling. Everybody knows the trash gets sorted. We don't need no stinking recycling.
Fact is, no trash gets sorted, friend. So if it goes in there, it just ends up at a landfill.
There's only one way to settle this. Draw.
Santa Barbara Recycles.
How come Dad couldn't come to the beach?
He had to fertilize the lawn.
I saw on television that when fertilizer gets washed into creeks, it causes slimy algae to grow.
Is that bad?
When too much algae grows, there's less oxygen for the fish. Other things washers lawns too, like pesticides.
And the pollution ends up in the ocean. Do you think Dad knows that?
I doubt it. I sure hope he reads the directions.
Remember, when you're fertilizing your lawn, you're not just fertilizing your lawn. Welcome back to Inside Santa Barbara. Do you know where you get your water from? Up next, Nina Sang discusses groundwater, an important part of the city's water supply.
Lake Kachuma, our primary source of water. After the recent series of storms, the water level at Lake Kachuma has increased substantially. This is significant because the storage level at Lake Kachuma is an important indicator of the potential for a water shortage. And in spite of the recent rain, the idea of drought and a thirsty Santa Barbara should not be forgotten. Droughts have happened in our area before, and they will happen again. They are a part of the natural weather cycle of the South Coast. To prevent a severe water shortage from reoccurring, like it last did 20 years ago, the city of Santa Barbara has established a diverse water portfolio, which includes groundwater. Groundwater is rainfall that has seeped deep into the ground and is stored between rock and particles in the soil. Wells are drilled to collect this water and pumped to the surface for use as drinking and irrigation water.
The city of Santa Barbara uses it as a part of its potable water supply, and primarily for three reasons.
One of these reasons is to meet peak demand. Another is to improve water quality when water demand is high, like during the summer.
We also use it during its extended drought periods when our surface water reservoirs are lower.
In 2009, groundwater supplied 8% of the city's water. In drought conditions, that number could increase to 20 or 30%. And in a disaster, groundwater could play an even bigger role. Currently, the city relies heavily on Gibraltar Reservoir and Kachuma Lake for potable water. But this water must flow through tunnels in the mountains, and these tunnels have collapsed before.
And in the event of a catastrophic interruption of our water supply, we'll use that to provide what could be the only potable water source on this side of the mountains.
One of the benefits of groundwater is that it typically requires less processing.
Generally, groundwater requires a little less treatment in most cases because the water comes from underground and there's less contamination and mineral composites. In the lower part of our downtown basins, there is more hydrogen sulfide, and that has to be specially treated.
Those downtown wells are currently not in use because of the processing required.
We have 9 wells that could be used. 4 of them are connected to the Ortega groundwater treatment plant, which is inactive now because it's in need of rehabilitation.
To meet current stricter water standards, a complete rehabilitation of the Ortega groundwater treatment plant is necessary. Plans for the upgrade are in the final design stage and construction is planned to begin soon. But if groundwater is so great, why doesn't the city use more of it?
It's not an unlimited source. There's only a certain amount of usable storage in the groundwater basin, so we have to time our usage according to when it's best used. It's a relatively inexpensive source compared to other sources of water, but it's not unlimited, so we have to pace ourselves on how we use it.
And only a limited number of locations are suitable for wells.
Based on geologic data, we want to look for areas where there's a lot of sand and gravel deep that can store water in the pockets between the sand and gravel. That's typically a good place to put a well.
The city continually works to keep its wells in good condition. This is important so that they will be ready when we need them, either during drought or some other water supply interruption.
Even though it's a small percentage of our total usage, it's important for a number of reasons that justify the effort that we put into it.
For more information on groundwater, visit the city's website at santabarbaraca.gov/water. Well, the Where's Your Bag Prize Patrol has done it again, this time rewarding a reusable bag-toting shopper at Tri-County Produce. Chris Bell has the story.
Most of us have reusable bags, but do we remember to bring them and use them every time we shop? The Where's Your Bag campaign, a joint effort of the city, local grocers, Santa Barbara Channel Keeper, Choose to Reuse, and the California Grocers Association, aims to remind shoppers in a number of ways.
Well, we think it's a great idea to educate people to bring their own bags, and in the long run it saves the store money on buying bags as well, but more importantly it's good for the environment. And if we can just get everybody in the habit of bringing their own bags, not just to Tri-County Produce, but every store they shop, it's overall better for everyone.
Participating stores receive promotional materials as well as training and techniques to increase the use of reusable bags. And since few things motivate like cold hard cash, campaign organizers started the Prize Patrol.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, good, how are you?
I'm Dean, I'm the store manager for Albertsons.
Hi.
And you're our first prize winner of our Where's Your Bag Prize Patrol.
Really?
Yeah, you brought your recycle bag in.
Oh my God, awesome.
The Prize Patrol stakes out participating stores and surprises a select shopper who uses a reusable bag with prizes. This time, the Prize Patrol hit Tri-County Produce.
Can I say congratulations to you? Because you just won a great prize. Today is Where's Your Bag Prize Patrol Day. And you've won a free Where's Your Bag canvas bag and a Tri-County canvas bag.
That's
and lots
amazing.
of nice gift certificates in here
Wow.
for some restaurants, and including $75 to Tri-County Produce for
You
bringing
are
your own
kidding
bag.
me. You are kidding me.
We're not kidding.
Wow.
Prize winner Patricia Hall is exactly the type of shopper the campaign wants to reward.
I recycle all my papers. I recycle my newspapers, and it just seems like such a waste to have all of these paper bags stacked up and everything that goes with it. And it's so easy. I've gotten a routine of just putting my bag in the back seat of my car, and to me that's easier than dealing with a paper bag.
And Tri-County Produce has even taken reusable bag promotion a step further.
We started the new campaign where for every time a customer brings their own reusable bag to our store, we donate a nickel for every bag to the local charity. And we give a little raffle ticket to the customer. They put it in a bin of which local charity they want us to donate 5 cents to, and that's been overwhelming. The response from customers for that alone has been great. They think it's a wonderful thing that we're doing it, but they're also doing it by bringing their own bag, which is what's important.
Campaign organizers say when people choose to reuse, everybody wins. The massive resources required to produce plastic and paper bags are conserved, trash is reduced, and hundreds of thousands of marine mammals, sea turtles, and birds are saved from untimely deaths due to consuming plastic bags. And the message seems to be resonating.
It's become kind of a religion for me, and it's nice to see it being supported. I see more and more people bringing their bags, actually, in all kinds of grocery stores.
We're noticing that from senior citizens down to young youth, and everything in between. People are bringing their own bags. More and more people are, which is quite surprising, but it's wonderful that they're doing that.
For more information on the Where's Your Bag campaign, go to where'syourbag.com. You may have noticed some construction at the intersection of Haley and De La Vina Streets. That's because a new bridge project has just begun. Channel 18's Becky Oxborough has the story.
The bridge at the intersection of Haley and De La Vina Streets has been serving the west downtown neighborhood since the horse and buggy ruled the road. But after nearly 100 years, it's time for the bridge to be replaced.
The bridge has been deemed structurally deficient by Caltrans, and the bridge was actually built in 1915, and it was actually designed for about a 100-year lifespan, and so it's reaching that point, and so we're now working on getting it replaced.
The bridge will be widened, increasing the capacity for storm water flow underneath and enhancing the roadway for motorists and pedestrians. Nearly 90% of the project costs will be paid for by the federal government.
The total project cost is $12 million, and it's paid for by the Federal Highway Bridge Program, which covers 88.5% of the project costs. The remaining will be paid for by the city and Measure D gas tax funds.
Construction for the project began late last year.
Well, there's a lot of preparatory work that has to be done before we can actually remove the bridge. So for the first few months of the project, you're going to see the utilities being relocated. There are a few buildings that had to be removed. And just a lot of site work that has to be done prior to the demolition of the bridge in early summer.
The city has mapped out alternate routes so pedestrians, cyclists, and motorists can easily navigate around the area while construction takes place.
The detours for the project are about a 1 block around the project radius, and they've been set up to go from Bath to Coda to Chapala. Fairly easy detour around the project site during the construction period. We were able to accommodate a lot of the neighbors and residents who live in here by local parking. So there's parking now on De La Vina, parking on Haley, and on Brinkerhoff for residents who live and work in here.
The project fits into an even larger Mission Creek flood control project, consisting of the reconstruction of 5 additional bridges along the creek in the coming years. As part of that larger project, other improvements will be made throughout the creek, such as reestablishing native plants.
Once the demo for the bridge is going to go relatively quick, but there is a constraint of being in the creek, so we have a very tight timeline for being in the creek. It basically starts in early summer and runs through late fall. Then once we're out of the creek, we'll start work on the actual deck and everything outside of the creek, and that'll take the remainder of the time, redoing the intersection, redoing the sidewalks, putting in new street lighting in the intersection, and new signals, just to wrap up the project. New landscaping will go on around there.
The Haley De La Vina Bridge Replacement Project is scheduled to be complete by the summer of 2011. The intersection will remain closed until then.
The Haley De La Vina Bridge Replacement Project has its own website for you to follow the progress of construction. Just go to santabarbaraca.gov/Haley Bridge. In November, the airport terminal project broke ground. Let's check in on the progress. The airline terminal project has been cleared for takeoff. The second phase of construction is now underway adjacent to the existing historic airline terminal. The terminal site has been graded to approximately 30 inches above the adjacent aircraft ramp to place the terminal facility outside the 100-year floodplain. After grading was finished, the first order of work for Emma Corporation was to set up batter boards for the new building. These are horizontal boards that are attached level to stakes used to mark the corners of the building, as well as fastening for stretched strings to indicate foundation walls within the building footprint. Then the electrical and communications conduit and all of the waste lines under the building footprint were laid out and installed. Once these utility lines were complete, about 80 footings ranging in size from 2.5 feet square to 10 feet square were then excavated. Steel reinforcement was placed and concrete was poured. The contractor has also installed new water service and sewer service to the site. There are 2 water line connections, as the new terminal will have a complete loop around the facility. There are also 2 sewer laterals to the new building, one for restaurant waste and one for regular waste. The 67,000 square foot airline terminal is expected to be complete in early 2011 and achieve LEED Silver certification for sustainable building. The project will also include construction of a new reconfigured short-term parking lot directly in front of the terminal and a wider, longer loop road with a separate lane for public transportation vehicles. The historic portion of the existing 1942 terminal is scheduled to open in early 2012 following its relocation adjacent to the new terminal. The rehabilitated building will house offices for airport patrol and parking operation. Stay tuned in the months to come for more updates on the airline terminal's flight to the future. To stay updated on the airport terminal project, just go to their website, flysba.com. We'll be back after this.
I pledge.
Pledge to take the 20-gallon challenge. It's easy and simple. Turn your sprinklers on and check for leaks once a month.
I pledge.
Use 3 inches of mulch throughout your garden.
I pledge.
Use online tools to adjust your watering schedule.
I pledge.
Install a rain sensor and it will automatically shut off your sprinklers when it is raining.
I pledge.
Save water now. Take the 20-gallon challenge at svwater.org. Minutes away. Hours of fun. See another world. Stearns Wharf. Your local, affordable source for family fun. Did you know that when it rains or when you hose down the sidewalk, your pet's waste gets carried straight to the storm drains, which lead to the creeks and ocean? It can contain harmful bacteria and it's not treated before it reaches the beach. Pick up after your pet every time. Carry a bag with you and throw it in the trash. Remember, when your dog goes on the sidewalk, he's not just going on the sidewalk.
If you got a broken spatula, don't throw it out. Santa Barbara recycles all metals now. If you got a broken toy and you don't know what to do, Santa Barbara can recycle all plastics too. All metals and plastics are recyclable. You can even recycle your bicycle, 'cause all metals and plastics are recyclable. So reduce, reuse, recycle. Reduce, reuse, recycle. Reduce, reuse, recycle. Reduce, reuse, recycle.
Welcome back to Inside Santa Barbara. If you get excited about art, you may want to plan a trip in the near future, at least as far as the airport. In our next segment, Nina Sang tells us about a plan to feature the work of regional artists in the new airline terminal.
Santa Barbara is a place known for its celebration of the arts. But what is especially unique about art in Santa Barbara is that it can be found anywhere. The beach, a small courtyard, and soon the airport.
I think the airport is one of the gateways to the community, and sharing the regional art of the community I think is important.
The Santa Barbara Airport is in the process of receiving proposals from regional artists interested in having their work permanently featured in the new terminal, now under construction.
It's incredibly important to involve regional artists in the airport project because people don't realize we have an amazing spectrum of artists in our community, and we don't have very many art galleries, so we don't get to see everything that everybody does all the time.
By featuring the art, SBA hopes that the nearly 1 million travelers a year that will pass through the new terminal will remember it as something as unique and interesting as a city.
I think it'll just add to the experience of the passenger. They won't just have to read magazines while they wait. They'll get to actually see some local art.
But the art won't be just paintings. There will be art integrated into the building itself. Areas that will feature art include decorative stenciling on wood beams, a floor medallion on the North Rotunda, and wrought iron railing embellishments surrounding the main lobby. But for the artists to impress the committee judging submissions, their idea has to be anything but ordinary.
They're looking for something, eventually really, that's going to look like it was always meant to be there. And that's the sign of a good piece of public art.
In addition to new art, terminal visitors will also see historical art. Through a loan from the Santa Barbara County Arts Commission, Shining Peak's 1984 Fiesta mural, long in storage, will now be viewable in the new terminal. And hanging at the main entrance will be a large lantern loaned by the Courthouse Legacy Foundation. The lantern had been in the Courthouse Hall of Records for nearly 60 years before a remodel forced its removal. With new art from regional artists to showcase our creativity and historical art to share a piece of our history, travelers to the new airline terminal will either be introduced to the Santa Barbara experience or be able to extend it a little longer.
You know, I love that expression, we don't remember days, we remember moments. And I think in Santa Barbara we have awesome sunsets that stop us in our tracks, or maybe a rainbow after a rainy day. And I think that's the power of art. And any time that you're spent engaged and interested and intrigued by a piece of art is going to leave you with a pleasant experience about Santa Barbara and Santa Barbara Airport.
For more information on the airline terminal artwork, visit flysba.com. Santa Barbara is a fantastic city to experience by foot or bike, but sharing the road with vehicles isn't always a walk in the park. Coming up next, Becky Oxborough shares the rules of the road.
The road is a busy place, frequently shared by trucks, cars, buses, bicycles, scooters, and pedestrians. And although it would be nice if all users shared the road in harmony, that's not always the case. That's why the City of Santa Barbara is working to educate all users of streets and sidewalks on how to properly share the road.
It means that we all have the right to use the roadway, whether we're walking, biking, or driving a car. The second thing is that we all have a responsibility to follow the rules of the road. Having multiple users of the roadways causes potential for conflict. Sometimes people jaywalk, or bikers ride on the sidewalk, or ride the wrong way on the road. And when this happens, it creates potential for conflict.
While bicyclists, pedestrians, and motorists all have the right to share the road, they are also responsible for following the rules of the road. And while most people feel they know the rules, some situations aren't so easy.
Someone's speeding up so they can cut in front of me.
For example, what's considered jaywalking? Do skateboards belong on the sidewalk or the street? Are motorists allowed to park in the bike lane? Let's test your knowledge of street safety with a series of true or false questions. Number 1. It is okay for a pedestrian to cross the street at an intersection, even if it's not marked. True or false? True. Pedestrians have the right to cross at any intersection, whether marked or unmarked, and all motor vehicles should yield to pedestrians when crossing the street. It is only considered jaywalking if the pedestrian crosses where there is no intersection or striped lines. In fact, on occasion, the Santa Barbara Police Department carries out what are called pedestrian stings to educate the public on the rules of the road.
One of the most common things I think recently in Santa Barbara is the pedestrian sting, and that's when the police will have what they call decoys, and they'll have an officer that's not in uniform attempt to cross the crosswalk and see how often cars will actually yield to that pedestrian. And technically speaking, if it's safe and a car can stop, as soon as the pedestrian steps into the crosswalk, the car should yield. And so what police are looking for is those cars that are going to try and zoom by and not yield to the pedestrians, and that's when they can ticket the motorists for those kinds of actions.
Number 2. Bikes are allowed to ride on the sidewalks unless there is a sign saying otherwise. True or false? False. Bikes are never allowed on the sidewalk and should remain in the bike lane at all times. If there is not a bike lane present, cyclists are to share the road with motorists.
We have several share the road arrows throughout the city, here along Milpas Street and along Cabrillo Boulevard. These stencils indicate to motorists to share the road with cyclists and the cyclists to share the road with the motorists. We use these in areas where there's not enough roadway to add a bicycle lane.
But what about other forms of transportation, like inline skates, skateboards, and segways? Where do they fit in?
On multi-purpose pathways, such as the one on Cabrillo Boulevard near the beach, all users are allowed to use this space, as long as it's human-powered, such as bicyclists, rollerbladers, people who walk. But we all have to share common courtesy, such as cyclists using their bells to let other walkers know that they're behind them.
Number 3. Cars are never allowed to park in bike lanes. True or false? True.
Vehicles parked in the bike lane.
When cyclists are forced to weave in and out of parked cars, their visibility and predictability to other motorists on the road greatly decreases. When it comes to pedestrians and improving visibility, one technique that has been employed is the curb extension.
So quite literally, a curb extension is an extension of the curb which shortens the crosswalk, and it serves benefits for both drivers and pedestrians. One of the big pedestrian benefits is that it shortens the distance of the crosswalk, meaning pedestrian doesn't have to be in the roadway as long. It shortens the distance so cars don't have to wait as long for pedestrians to get across. And one of the biggest benefits is it increases visibility between a driver and a pedestrian, so it's easier to see and be seen.
One area that is particularly challenging when motorists and cyclists are in them together is the roundabout.
We have 3 roundabouts in town, one here at Milpas and 101. Also have one at 5 Points Roundabout, Sycamore Canyon. There's also a new one that's just being constructed at Coast Village Road in Hot Springs. I get a lot of questions about how do I handle a roundabout in my safety education classes. Well, first of all, pedestrians have the right-of-way, so motorists and cyclists must yield to pedestrians in crosswalks. For cyclists, sometimes it's nerve-wracking to enter a fast-moving roundabout. What I do as a cyclist, I signal, I look behind me, I scan, make my move, and I take the lane. That way I clearly tell my position to the motorists behind me that I'm taking the lane, and all I have to worry about are the vehicles in front of me.
So whether you're a motorist, cyclist, pedestrian, or other user of the roadway, remember to always be aware of your surroundings, know the rules of the road, and show courtesy to those around you. This will make the roads of Santa Barbara safer for everyone.
To learn more about sharing the road or how to sign up for a street skills class, visit sbbike.org. Every year, millions of school children around the world will benefit from DARE, which gives kids tools to say no to drugs, violence, and gangs. Students in Santa Barbara will be a part of this group as they learn skills they can use throughout their lives.
Junior! Oh, that's cool. Say hi, Junior! Hey, dork. Man, dude, I did not diss you. I can't believe you just tried to put me down.
The DARE program is a program that began in 1981, early 1982 actually, with the Los Angeles Police Department to address the issues of drug abuse, and which includes alcohol, with young people. Actually, when I was with LAPD, I was one of the original DARE officers myself, so I've taught DARE. And I think from my personal experience, we get the kids to open up more to police officers, and through the program it allows them to even open up at home with their parents should that need arise.
I mean, think about it. If we write something down and we go, ooh, that's just not good enough, I can do better. You erase it and you try and start over, but here's the thing. The choices we make, dear graduates, they stay with us.
The biggest thing is that we give them a guideline for their life.
We don't ask them to memorize all the DARE lessons, but we just tell them at their graduation every year that that is the really first day of DARE, is actually DARE graduation, because now they're going to be faced with some realities out in the street, and they're going to need to know how to deal with it. Is Officer Anita Chamberlain. No one forgets their DARE officer. That's the bottom line. No one forgets their DARE officer. You know, I really believe that today's young people have it a lot harder than I did. And, you know, there are always those that will say, well, does it really work? Well, I believe it works because, for one, it gives us the opportunity to present it. And clearly, because of the fact that it really provides the schools and police departments to partner up, it really assists families in a huge way.
Give it up to Chief Sanchez. Give it up to City Council. Fire chiefs, let's hear it for your school teachers out there. Make a little noise.
To find out if DARE is available at your child's school, contact Anita Chamberlain at the Santa Barbara Police Department at 897-3712. Last month, plenty of Santa Barbara residents got out and smelt the roses at the annual AC Postal Memorial Rose Garden pruning. Videographer Jeff Goodman was there for all the floral fun.
Today we're pruning the roses. We do this annually to reinvigorate them and get them to produce new growth and lots of blooms for Santa Barbara. This is our national flower. Before the 1980s, we didn't have a national flower, and Ronald Reagan decided it was going to be the rose.
Right here we have a beautiful rose garden with over 1,500 roses in this garden, and it's just absolutely fabulous.
This is a volunteer-based garden where us, the Santa Barbara Rose Society, is kind of the leading edge of it. Have a number of volunteers that we assign to beds, and they come over and they keep the roses, the rose beds looking nice during the season.
If we didn't have our volunteer base, this garden wouldn't get pruned the way it does. It would be very difficult with decimating budgets within our city.
Anyone that would like to come and be in the beautiful outdoors here. And we also take care of all the roses. Many people take care of it, and then it'll be done in no time.
Our roses bloom all year long, so we cut them back for a number of reasons. One is we want to get rid of all the old dead wood that's there from the previous year. We want to shape them because they can become unruly during the year and cross over and be ugly and have little shoots that do nothing. And the third one is to give them a little rest.
If we didn't do that, we would not have any true roses. The garden would not be an accredited rose garden. The blooms would be basically completely blemished. We would have roses with lots of disease and rust and such that it would once again just be a decimated rose garden.
If you have a tall rose, you prune it tall. If you have a short rose, you prune it short. Don't try to make it a rose what it is not.
Is there any prerequisite that a volunteer needs to have?
Just a love of flowers, a love of people, because when you come out here, you'll meet a lot of different people.
It's nice to be talking to other people about something that is close to your heart. If someone is into roses or many other flowers or whatever it is, your hobby, you want to talk about it.
For more information about the Rose Garden or how to volunteer there, visit sbrose.org. Well, that does it for this month's episode of Inside Santa Barbara. If you have any questions or comments about the show, give us a call at City TV 564-5311. I'm your host, Dominique Blocker, and remember to get involved inside Santa Barbara. 10,000 years ago, early cave dwellers relied on natural fiber shoulder pouches to gather their food. Native Americans used baskets made of rushes or reeds to collect and carry acorns, berries, or fish. In the mid-19th century, gold miners loaded their saddlebags with precious metals and packed it onto their donkeys. Even 1930s American movie icons skipped down the yellow brick road with full baskets for the journey. In the 70s, we were all grooving to the latest funkadelic sounds with our out-of-sight bags. History has shown us that reusable is a better way to go. The decisions we make each day affect the world around us. Where's your bag? When we wash our cars on the street, oil and soapy water runs into the gutter, down the storm drain, and straight into the creeks and ocean. Metals, solvents, and degreasers get washed to the ocean too. Instead, take your car to a car wash where the dirty water is collected, or at home, wash on grass or gravel to absorb the water. Remember, when you wash your car on the street, you're not just washing your car on the street. Rediscover your sense of Santa Barbara. Stearns Wharf, you're on to something.
I'm not happy with the numbers. We've got to find a way to cut costs.
But boss, we've checked everywhere. We're doing everything we can.
Mr. Johnson, I've noticed your office throws a lot of recyclables in the trash. If you recycled instead, it could save you some money.
What floor, please?
Top floor.
Another day in your day-to-day replays. Moments you might cherish pass you by. But the light of the morning seems to say that one small thing can change the world. The morning light remains. The smile that you offer is returned. The good fortune of the day can be blamed on the fact that one small thing can change the world.